You know, as a young man, you hear all sorts of things. Be a man, stand up for yourself. But then you also hear, hey, control your temper, don't be so emotional. It's a lot of conflicting messages, and it can be really confusing trying to figure out how you're actually supposed to handle anger.
So let's just cut to the chase and ask the big question right up front. Is anger always wrong? Is it just this bad emotion that we're supposed to get rid of completely? Well, the answer might actually surprise you.
Okay, so let's break this down. The world seems to give us two main options, right? On one hand, you've got the loud and dominant approach. You got to unleash your anger to show you're strong. Then there's the other extreme, the emotionally shut down guy who thinks all anger is bad, so you just bury it, stuff it down, and pretend it's not there. But what if there's a third way, a better way? Strength under control. See, this isn't about unleashing anger or burying it. It's about seeing it for what it is, a signal that needs to be ruled by you, not an emotion that gets to rule over you.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about here. Anger itself, it isn't the enemy. It's a powerful emotion, for sure. But our goal isn't to get rid of it. Our goal is to rule it.
Now, this isn't some new self-help idea. I mean, just look at this from Ephesians chapter 4. Be angry and do not sin. That one sentence, it's revolutionary. It tells us that you can actually feel anger without it tipping over into sin. Anger can be like an alert system, a signal that tells you something important is going on, that something you care about is at risk.
So if we're going to rule our anger, we first have to understand where it's coming from. And spoiler alert, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere because of what someone did or said to you. The Bible teaches us that anger always starts in the heart. It's an inside job. So let's break it down into its three parts: the mind, the affections, and the will.
First up, the mind. Every single time you get angry, that response is built on a belief. More specifically, it's built on a belief that some kind of injustice has happened. Something has gone down that you believe, in your core, is just wrong.
And these thoughts, yeah, they probably sound pretty familiar, don't they? This isn't fair. Or they should know better. Or that intense pressure that feels like if I don't step in and figure this out, nothing is ever going to change. These are the mental triggers. And sometimes that injustice is real, for sure. But other times, we might be exaggerating it, or maybe we've just assumed it's there when it's not.
And this is where it gets dangerous, because we often jump from what happened to trying to figure out why it happened. We start guessing motives. But this verse from Jeremiah is a crucial reminder that only God truly knows the heart. When we try to play judge and jury over someone else's intentions, we start carrying a weight that we were never, ever designed to carry.
Okay, so that's the mind. Let's go a layer deeper, to the second part, the affections. This is all about what we want and what we're afraid of. I promise you, if you look underneath the surface of almost any angry outburst, you are going to find a desire or a fear driving the whole thing. Think about it this way. Anger is often just a protective instinct. It flares up when something we value, things like justice, respect, the safety of our family, loyalty, feels like it's being threatened. Now, wanting to protect those things isn't wrong at all. But when fear gets in the driver's seat, our anger becomes reactive instead of wise. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the will. This is all about our response. So the mind sees an injustice, the affections feel a threat, and now the will has to decide, what am I going to do about it? This is the moment, right here, that decides whether our anger is handled well or if it gets misused.
And when anger is misused, it almost always goes down one of two very common, very destructive paths. This is how even a righteous sense of anger can get twisted and become sinful.
On one side, you have internalized or passive anger. This is the guy who just replays the offense over and over in his head. He's making silent judgments, he withdraws from people, all while feeling totally justified and right. It doesn't explode, it just simmers and hardens into bitterness. Then on the other side, you've got this justice-driven anger that crosses the line. This is the guy who's mentally prosecuting everyone, fixated on what they deserve. He wants to see consequences, sure, but there's no compassion. He's essentially trying to take on God's role as the judge. And Scripture could not be more clear on this. Romans 12:19 gives us the command directly, do not avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God. See, it's not our job to be the final judge and the one who deals out vengeance. That's a role that belongs to God and God alone.
So all of this leads us to a totally redefined picture of what biblical manhood looks like. Because true strength, it's not found in controlling other people or your circumstances. It's found in self-control.
Let's be really clear about what we mean. Biblical manhood is not about shutting down your emotions. It's not about trying to carry everyone's burdens all by yourself, and it's definitely not about trying to fix things only God can fix. Instead, biblical manhood is about learning the wisdom to know when to speak and when to wait. It's about entrusting the final outcome to God, and it's about learning to act with both courage and humility.
This verse from Proverbs just nails it, doesn't it? The world celebrates the warrior, the one who takes a city. But God says there's a greater strength, a greater victory in the man who can control his own temper. That is strength under control.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? We've talked a lot about the what, but how do we put this whole idea of strength under control into practice in our actual everyday lives?
Here's a super simple but really powerful tool. Call it the heart check. The next time you feel that anger starting to rise, just pause. Take a second and ask yourself these 3 questions. First, for the mind, what injustice am I reacting to right now? Am I just assuming I know their motives? Second, for the affections, what am I afraid of losing here? What do I want so badly in this moment? And third, for the will, is the way I'm about to respond going to honor God? What would wisdom actually look like right now?
And look, to really build this into a habit, here's a little challenge for this week. Every day, just pick one moment when you felt angry. It can be something small, doesn't matter. Then just walk through these questions. What happened? What did I believe was unfair? What did I want or what was I afraid of? And then how could I respond differently next time? And then just close it out with a simple prayer. I'm telling you, this practice alone can be a total game changer.
Because ultimately, this is the choice that every man has to make. Unchecked anger, it doesn't just disappear. It waits, it hardens, and eventually it finds a target. But when we bring our anger under God's rule, it stops being a liability. It can actually become a tool that helps us act with wisdom, with courage, and with true strength. So the question to walk away with is this: will your anger be a weapon of destruction, or will it be a tool for wisdom?